just entered the bear crawling nation on the No Agenda stream.
This is Mordant McFall, and welcome to the other side of live. Welcome everybody to the #1 late night motivational morning show known as the other side of live. Tonight we are live from the Bears Den in Monticello, Georgia. That's right. Here I am here. And tonight's working title for the show is Fair Weather, Foul Weather. In the morning, No Agenda stream. And now, without further ado, I want to introduce my friend, my pal, my interrupter of speeches, the dark side of positive, Charles McFall. Say hello, Charles.
You can't see the joke. The joke is like, hello, can you hear me? I'm just waving at him, talking. Nothing.
Charles, can you hear me?
Talking about the last week and the non-communicado that we had going on.
The big snafu that was the other side of live. It was fun.
Well, it ended up being fun because we pushed through. We didn't quit. Honestly, at one point, I'll tell you, man, I was here and I was like, I'm done. And I think you tried one more time, and that's when, or I tried you one more time on the cell phone just to make sure it wasn't my equipment. And at that point, you'd figured out what was going on.
Yep.
And I think I was still kind of done. And the ever lovely rock girl who was here, and she was like, you know, you can vent to me. And I was like, you know what, I don't need to. I am zen. I was just kind of being a jackass a little bit. I was like, but then I got thinking, I was like, you know, I'm going to own that. It's fine. We'll just still go with the show because it was just a speed bump. It was just a frustrating moment.
Yeah, your joy is not, and your happiness is not predicated by your surroundings, by your situation. Although it can piss you off once in a while, it is up to you to go, you know what, I'm going to choose to do this. And I think we proved that last week. But before we dive into anything and everything else, let's talk about a little bit about what's coming up. We have the bear crawling / no agenda meetup coming up on Saturday, May 26th of Memorial Day weekend. That's right. So I guess we're gathering all the people from No Agenda who want to come to the Atlanta area at the Georgia Renaissance Festival, and all the people from the Bear Crawling Nation. And you know, I'll be there because I have contractual obligation to wear tights.
If you're in the Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama area, I mean, if you're going to Google it, it's GeorgiaRenaissanceFestival.com. and see how long it takes you to get there. It's just south on 85, just below the airport.
Exit 61.
I would go so far as to say, if you can do it in 2 hours, 2.5 hours, you know, maybe even pushing 3 hours. I've done a 3-hour trip and done stuff all day and then 3 hours coming back. If you can do 3 hours, it's probably worth it because there's a lot of great shows. It's really fun. You get to hear a lot of the personalities that are on the No Agenda stream. And
other listeners as well.
It's really a lot of fun. And come on, turkey legs and our Mordant McFall on a stick. What else do you want?
That's the last show of the day when I get stabbed. And then right after that Tuesday, we are actually having the Tosol Atlanta meetup in Marietta, Georgia, which is also in the Atlanta area. So we're going to be broadcasting the show live from the Tabula Rasa Health and Fitness Center.
Tabula Rasa.
Which is the center of our friend Hope Hughes. So you can come in, you can, you know, watch the show as it's happening, throw out questions if you'd like. You can heckle us and we'll smack you down because that's what we will do. But be a part of the show that night. It'll be a lot of fun. It's that Tuesday, May 29th, Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend.
Now, where can we find the information to how to find the location?
Actually, you can find it on our Facebook page. If you go to facebook.com/BCN Tosol, which stands for The Other Side of Live, TOSOL, BCN Tosol. It is right there in that big picture thing they have across the top, where they call that the cover photo or whatever. The address is in there. All that jazz is in there. And you know, you can also go to an event page. You can find the event page up there as well. So blah, blah, blah. Anything else you have about that?
No, I just wanted to make sure they knew how to find us. And it starts at, did you already say that? Did I missed that?
It starts at whatever time.
I don't know.
8:30.
8:30 is a meet and greet. So it's not us behind a table or answering. We'll be accessible. You can actually touch him. I'll be in the corner going, no, I'm here. Never mind. Yeah.
So when one of you show up and we're like, we're so excited for her. Oh, it's you.
But 8:30 to 9:15-ish is Just meet and greet, hobnob, meet the people behind the show, which is just you and I.
Yeah, pretty much.
And no, Sharon Watson and Rock Girl will both be on the... No? Yes?
I don't remember if... I don't think Sharon Watson
I thought that's why she was coming. I know she's going to be there for our meetup.
The week before.
No, she's coming in. Well, she's coming in the week before.
I don't
but she'll be there for our meetup, for the Bear Coin meetup. So Sharon Watson.
She won't be there for Tosol. She won't be there for Tosol.
Sharon Watson. Okay, maybe she won't.
Anyways, last week we talked about, it was at Tosol episode number 43. The title of the episode was Yesterday You Said Tomorrow. We talked about procrastination and all that other stuff. And we also, leading into stop putting off those things that you say that you want to do. You know, I discussed getting back into working out, etc., etc. And I'm, as a result of all of that, I made some changes this week, which I'll get into in a minute. But Charles, what about you? What did you do?
Well, you know, actually tying into procrastination, which would have been great for last week because I didn't even think about it because I was agitated. Which we might get to the end of the show. We might talk about falling back. You're talking about foul weather, fair weather, and how even though we progress in our lives, that we tend to fall back on some old tendencies and technology. I have control issues. I do, and Sharon Watson, BCM Watson, did confirm that she will not be there for the Tosol meetup, unfortunately. But I do have control issues where they're lesser of an issue now. Man, technology gives me major control issues. I'll smile for the camera. There you go. And so, yeah, I got hot fast last week. It threw me off. But we may get into that at the end of the show. But talking about procrastination, I've been a big guy for as long as I can literally remember. I've been overweight. Of course, I've been tall. I hit 6'0" at 14 years old and kept going. I've always been wider than the average American. And you know, some people will talk about, I'm big bone. No, I am. I mean, I'm proportionate. I'm tall and wide. That if I was fit, I still look like a football player. You know, I'm just a big guy, but I've been overweight most of my life. And, you know, I have wanted to do something about it for a very long time and just put it off because we do it for the wrong reasons. And I'm going to get too long in my speech here. I'll wrap it up. But I put it off because if you do something for the wrong reason, well, I think I should get healthier. I'm tired of people talking about my weight, so I'm going to lose weight. Or I don't know. Whatever. I want to look better for my wife. I want to, you're not going to succeed. At least I didn't. And I finally about 6 weeks ago, maybe even. I'm not sure on the timeline. But I sat down. I was at the library, one of my favorite places to go, and I had the baby outside. And I walked across the parking lot, and I sat down. I was a little winded. And I literally just said, in all honesty, I'm tired of being overweight. Now I just got to find the motivation to do something about it. Because I have a treadmill, and I used it regularly for a while until something happened. I did sit-ups and push-ups for a while, which I love to do, until something happened, and I got out of the habit. And I just never got back into it, found a million reasons not to. And I got a lot of great response on Facebook, and a lot of people suggested that I go and do loseit.com. So I did, as a budget for food. And man, I didn't realize how much I was just overeating, bored eating, maybe even a little stress eating with all the stuff that I have going on. Not bad stress, but stress can be okay. It's still stress. It's like I can slap you and it'll be funny. And people will laugh because you'll hear it on the radio, but, it'll still hurt. But, I didn't know how much stress eating and all that I was doing until I started budgeting it. And I said, I want to lose so much weight. And the max it'll let you do a week is 2 pounds a week. And I put in all my age, my weight, my height. And said, okay, here's what you can eat per day, which is generous, is like just under 3,000 calories a day. And by 2014, like Valentine's of 2014, you'll be at your goal weight, which for the record is losing a person. I'm losing 110 pounds is what I'm trying to do. So I started at 370. I started at 370. And as of yesterday morning when I weighed in, I was at 357 and some change.
Holy crap. So, how long has that been?
6 weeks at the most. 5 weeks, 4 weeks. I'm constantly coming in under my calories because I'm just not hungry. It's a mindset, man. And when healthy people tell you, there's a lifestyle change, they don't do what we do here on the other side of life. We tell you how to change your life. Because I heard that so many times. There's a lifestyle change, portion control. That doesn't help me. What helped me was And yet another moment when I was ready to change for myself, which is when I started doing push-ups, when I started doing the walking, when I was ready to change for myself, somebody stepped up and said, hey, here's something that'll help you. And it was something so simple that it was easy for me to do. It literally is just like a budget for your money. I just say, I ate this. And it shows you if you go over or go under. It keeps it for the week, give you a wider picture of what's going on. You know, so you don't get depressed and angry. And I weigh every day. I weigh like 3 times a day just because it's a game to me now, just to watch it. But also mentally, I do that to see the up and down. So I know if I put on another 8, what is it? It's not ounces, is it? Yeah, 8. I don't know. On my scale, it's 258.6 or 0.8. So that point system, if I see it go up, I've put on like 2 pounds one night. I've seen it go up. But I see the up and down, so I see the trend is still going down.
Right.
Yeah, 11.4 pounds I've lost since I started doing this.
That's awesome. And are you doing anything on the exercise side of things?
Not intentionally. I'm not like doing exercises every day too, because my lifestyle doesn't support that. And that's an excuse, and I know it, but I'm okay with that being an excuse, because I'd rather put my energy into doing what we do here, pushing this forward.
And that's been my problem lately, getting over to what I did for my yesterday, you said tomorrow. I'm a big gym nut. I like going, I like being healthy, etc. But I haven't been doing it lately, and I'm probably the heaviest I've been ever, which
is still light.
But still, I hadn't been going to the gym, and then I went to the roundup with Hope Hughes. Again, I'm blanking on the name of it. It is
Renegade Life.
Thank you, the Renegade Life.
I don't know how I came up with that, but that's what it is.
Thank you for doing that. And I'm sitting between 2 fitness chicks, and they're telling me how they get up at 4:30 in the morning and 5:30 in the morning and putting me to shame. And me either. But it made me go, you know what? It's all about me getting back into this thing again. So I did.
And we have a caller, 678. Go ahead.
Oh, hello. This is Danielle Banks. How are you?
Danielle Banks. We can introduce her now.
All right.
Let me finish off my story. So anyways, I went ahead and this week I got back into the gym. So it is a lifestyle change. I agree with you. It's not easy to do these things, but if you really want to have, it's more about quality of life. It's not, you may not live longer, but you're going to live better, and that's what this is all for. This is so that you can keep up with your kids when you're getting older and older, so that I can keep up with my lifestyle when I'm getting older and older.
Yeah.
But tonight's title is Fair Weather, Foul Weather, and right now we're going to be talking about the fair weather. We have Danielle Banks in the house. Say hello, Danielle.
Hello, everyone.
They're not going to answer you back. But just in case they want to, the number here on the show is 813-413-7133. You can call in, but first we get her all to ourselves. Now, I met Danielle a few weeks ago at the Georgia Renaissance Festival when she came out and did a video spot with us and a few other acts out there. She works for the Weather Channel, and I'm going to let you go in and tell us a little bit more of what you do. Ready, go.
Okay. I have multiple jobs with the Weather Channel. I'm sort of a one jack of all trades, I guess you will. I serve as an on-camera meteorologist. I fill in when some of the main folks are on vacation or under the weather or whatever comes up. I also work as a radio broadcast meteorologist, and I also work in the lifestyles department, which means we get to go out and film cool segments like what I did at the Georgia Renaissance Festival, and just the list kind of keeps going on and on and on.
And that was an awesome segment. Well, actually, in the show notes, we're going to put a link to that so that everybody can see what we were talking about. And you were a lot of fun out there. Now, afterwards, when we were done with our piece, we're talking about other stuff we do, and you do more than just this. And that's when I mentioned, I do a talk radio show, and we're all like, yeah, you should come on it. And you're like, yeah, and everything's fine. Of course, cut to a couple weeks later, so much else is going on. I'm like, life is happening. And you come out to the festival on Sunday, and you're like, so when am I going to be on your show? And I'm like, oh, really soon. So we worked all
You were more like, who are you?
Well, you're wearing this headdress.
Because I looked very different.
Oh, my goodness, you're in costume. You've got this chainmail headpiece on, tiara you call it. And I'm just like, who is this person? And you know who I recognized was your husband, who was also the cameraman.
Well, he was my assistant for the day. He was sort of just making sure the shots were steady. I was sort of acting as the cameraman, and then I, wrote it and edited it and everything. But he was there to help me carry my tripod around with his manly arms.
So that you could just be the star. That's nice. It's nice to have a caddy.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's always been my caddy. I mean, the guy's chased me through 3 states for my crazy dreams, so I have the best.
And you've been all over the place. I mean, you grew up in Richmond, Virginia. Yes, I'm a stalker.
I did grow up in Richmond. I had a great childhood and upbringing on a small farm in Richmond with my younger sister and 2 wonderful parents. So very happy there.
And I got to say, you do what most newscasters do. You speak what I call newscaster American, which means you have almost no accent. So, and I think that Virginia, they have an accent. So how did you get rid of yours?
I really don't know, because my sister has a very thick Georgia accent since moving here. She kind of, drops her G's. So instead of I'm going to the store, it's I'm going, and things like that. But I don't know. I can say y'all with the best of them if I want to. I will actually start to mimic other people's accents sometime. I was recently up in South Dakota on the border of Minnesota, and when I came home to give my dogs bones, I was like, "Oh, don't you want a bone? Oh, there you go."
Oh.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I spent some
So
time
I'll
in
tend to
Minnesota,
pick it up depending on wherever I'm at, and I don't know why. Maybe that's what happened to Madonna. That's why she always kind of has this English accent now.
I live with a buddy of mine when I'm in North Carolina, in Gastonia, and I start picking up that North Carolinian accent a little bit. And my friends are like, "Dude, what are you doing? Are you making fun of them?" I'm like, "No, it's just kind of happening." So, I hear you. Now, what's the best part about working for the Weather Channel? It's got to be so exciting.
I definitely love it there. I've been there for 6 years, and I'm never bored. But I would have to say it's definitely the people. This is the nicest group of people that I've ever worked with. People are willing to listen to each other's ideas, and we all learn things from each other every day, and it's just a really, really wonderful place. I can't say enough good things about it.
Right, but you didn't start off, you didn't go from one day waking up and go, "I want to be on TV and I'm going to work for the Weather Channel." You actually had to take a track by doing a variety of different things.
It was a very long track.
Starting at, I think your first gig that she gave me a bullet pointed list, so I'm just going to read some of the stuff. Starting at reading news and horoscopes for a country station. What's that?
Okay, so basically what happened was I started doing internships after my freshman year in college, and so I did an internship in a newsroom. The following summer I did an internship at a radio station, both in Richmond. And when I came back from the radio station internship, I had been set up to do a work-study program, which is basically a program that many universities have where you get paid minimum wage and you work for various departments, and you could be, just doing clerical work or whatever, but I was set up to work at the campus radio station. So I come back all pumped up that I'm going to have this work-study at the radio station, and they look at me and they say, "Well, we're really sorry. We had somebody in over the summer, and we really just feel like we can't let them go, so we're not going to be able to give you a work-study." Okay, so at this point, I'm really upset, but I get on the horn and start making a gajillion phone calls and wind up finding about this mom-and-pop station that's about 3 to 5 miles away from the campus. And I call up the guy, whose name is Bob Travis, and he's the owner of the station. And I say, "Hi, this is who I am. If I am willing to work for you for minimum wage and you give me internship credit, could we possibly work something out?" And he said, "How soon can you get here?" I think minimum wage was music to his ears. So I came over and I gave him my demo tape, and he said, okay, you're going to be on our country station with our morning host, and you're going to read the news and give horoscopes. And so there I was in college, going to work at 4:35 in the morning. Most college students can barely make it to class at 8 a.m., but there I was. And at the top of every hour, the host would say, "Good morning, y'all." And, of course, I had no interest in country music, but it was a job, a real job in the industry, not just, you know, this was better to me than getting that work study. So because I was stubborn and didn't give up, I landed this gig. About 6 months after I had been playing Horoscope Girl and sort of becoming part of the show and also running the class right after this, they decided to make me the afternoon host on a rock alternative station called The Buzz. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was, at this point, I think I might have turned 20, somewhere in this realm. And I was 20 years old, and I had a real show. And it was just incredible. So I was hooked. I was anchoring the campus news team, all this great stuff. About a year into that part-time job, they decided to switch the format. Lickety-blam, like that. And it went from being a rock alternative station to a news station. So here's me, part-timer, out of a job. But then I saw all these people with husbands and wives and kids and mortgages that were scrambling to, you know, find a way to keep up with their livelihoods. So that's when I kind of decided, well, maybe I'll switch from radio over to TV. So I started focusing in on getting television jobs. So I got a job as a tape editor my last few months of college and at the local CBS affiliate in Roanoke, Virginia. Worked there, learned a lot about behind the scenes and TV. And then I was up for a traffic job at that same station. And I thought I was going to get the job, and they brought in a candidate at the last minute, like the weekend before they were going to announce who got it.
That
and they
hurts.
gave it to this young lady. I was crushed. Absolutely crushed. So again, I had the rug ripped out from under me, thinking I was going to get something. But the news director said to me, "You've done a great job. I want to help you out." And I said, "Okay, what can you do to help me?" And he wrote me a letter of recommendation to a couple of places that he knew that I applied for, and one of them hired me within 2 weeks of graduation. So it's really hard to get a job lined up after graduation that fast, but this guy really helped me out. And again, I just think that sometimes things are supposed to happen for a reason, because unfortunately for that traffic job and for the person who got it, that position was actually eliminated within the year.
Wow.
So it was good that
I'm a
you didn't
big
get it.
believer in, you know, sometimes things are just supposed to lay out, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be at a given time.
So where do you want to go? What is your dream here? Where do you want to end up doing with your life, with your passion?
Well, gosh, the sky's the limit. I managed to make it onto network television by the time I was 30 years old, which is an accomplishment I didn't even think I could possibly even see in my lifetime, much less before I turned 30.
Now,
so I feel like anything is possible, really. I mean, considering so many of the odds and obstacles that I've overcome in my career and just in life in general.
now I've seen the pictures on your fan page on Facebook. So what I don't understand is how you got on TV by the time you're in 30 when you're obviously not even 30 yet.
That's right. I'm 29.95 plus tax. You're exactly right.
Oh, spoken like...
You like that one, huh?
Yeah, that was
That's
great.
awesome. Very nice, very nice. So yeah, we've been talking about your job, but as Charles alluded, that you definitely have some passions out there. What is it that really jazzes you? What really moves you forward in the morning beyond the job? Oh, unless, of course, the job is your passion.
Job is definitely one of my passions in life. I worked in the news industry for 6 years, And I found that I gravitated more towards weather because I really feel like it is news you can use. The United States is fascinating to study from a weather perspective, and everybody wants to know what the weather is. And the other thing about the weather is people realize that it is a greater force that's causing it. They realize that it's a fact of life, and if you do have to go out and cover a tragic event that has been caused by the weather, people will, they come to you for information. They want to know, why did this possibly happen? Hopefully they came to us before so that, they got information that helped to keep their property and their family safe. But it's just great to work for an organization that is respected by the industry as well as the public, and that's why I'm just so proud to work at the Weather Channel. So
that is very cool. Are you familiar with internet broadcasting, radio stations, and/or podcasting?
Oh yes, of course.
Okay, so as somebody who's come up through the rank and file, as it were, doing the internships, fighting for positions, getting laid off numerous times, that's the standard brick and mortar radio style. That's what you do in the business. As somebody who's done that, what would your advice be to yourself now, coming out of college or in college, and how to take the route to chase your dream?
Well, I think the thing that a lot of college students make the mistake on is they try to go after these big paid internships, and just in the media business they are few and far between. And don't be afraid to work for free. That's the first thing I would tell them. And the second thing I would tell them is don't ever think that any task is beneath you. I have seen it time and time again where I've watched people that wanted to be on-air talent turn their nose up at learning how to be photographers, and because they want to have their own cameraman. That's great. If you want to have your own cameraman, aspire to that, but learn how to do that stuff so that if there is a one-man band job that opens up, you are going to be a good candidate for it. You may have to do your own photography and videography and editing for a year until you get to a bigger market. The other thing is, it is a cutthroat business, and you're going to work with some people who are not very nice. It's very competitive, especially when you start off in small markets. Be polite, stand your ground, but never burn your bridges, because the industry, even though it is large and spread throughout the United States, it is one of those small inner circle types of things where you could wind up working with that person that you weren't so keen on again later down the line, and you don't want to have that weird history between the two of you. So I like to say, ears open, mouth shut, because I'm just telling you, the type of mouths-offs that you see in the movies where you have, one coworker telling it to another like it is, right. It only works in the movies.
And that seems to be something that's kept you moving along. You seem to have this attitude of move forward, be successful in your job, but be nice to everybody, because you never know.
Yeah, I'm definitely the get more flies with honey type of persona. That's just who I am.
Right. Now, we've got a question in our chat room coming at you from Alex from 7th Row Center, and he asks, have you had to cover a major weather disaster, and was it hard to keep things professional after seeing the devastation?
Oh my gosh, definitely. I have, my mind of course goes right back to 2005. I got sent to the lower 9th Ward after Hurricane Katrina. Did so much damage around New Orleans and surrounding areas, and it was just so hard to absorb it. I'm literally getting goosebumps up my arms even thinking about it, and it is really hard to be there and look somebody in the eye and not have, why it happened meteorologically, but you can't explain to them why this is affecting them on that deeper level. It's so hard because you're sharing their pain, and I've had that helpless feeling of wanting to do something for somebody and wishing I had a magic wand to make it all better. And you definitely feel like you're falling apart on the inside. And, you know, sometimes it's okay to let go. I mean, I feel like, you know, I've had news directors tell me, you know, you shouldn't hug your interview subjects. Well, if I feel like I've gotten to know that person in the course of talking to them, if I feel like giving them a hug, I'm going to. You know, it's okay to connect with people. That's what we're there to do. I don't think you can tell a person's story without connecting with them. That's just my personal feeling on it.
Yeah, I think that's a good take, especially since it's the human connection that we all feed off of, that moves us as well. And if we see that in you, then it's like we're experiencing it as well.
Absolutely. You know, we're all the same at the end of the day. I mean, whether you are from the West Coast, the middle of the country, the Southeast, New England, you know, we all have the same hopes and dreams, and we all have stories to tell. I mean, the great thing about this business is you learn that people really are like onions. It's that great line from Shrek, you know, ogres are like onions. You got to peel them back one layer at a time. And we're all kind of like that. And when you get to know people, it's just fascinating what you will learn. If you can shove aside the nuts and bolts, as we call it, of the story and really kind of start digging a little deeper, it's really interesting what you will find.
Have you ever cried on camera?
Yes. You know, there were times, yeah, where I did. You know, going back to that time where we were covering Katrina, for sure. It was just so hard to watch. You know, what all of these people were going through, and to see them, you know, displaced and just trying to get reunited with family members. I still remember this gentleman named Frank. He was an 86-year-old man. He was an ex-Marine, and he managed to fish somewhere between 13 and 16 people out of the water in his little fishing boat, plucked them from the water and got them to safety after the water rose. And he had been sent up to Knoxville, Tennessee, where I was working as a reporter, to one of the shelters there. And I remember talking to him, and there was just something about him that I connected with. And I remember saying to him, what is it that, you know, you miss? Is there something that you miss that you just kind of wish you had, or something that would make your stay here a lot easier? And he told me he really loved listening to baseball games on the radio. And so after I got done with work that day, I went to Kmart and I bought him a radio and some headphones so he could listen to his baseball games. And when I went to take the objects there, the workers, the Red Cross workers, were kind of hesitant to let me in because they knew I was a reporter, because I was still in my reporter clothes. And when I told them why I was there, they just started having, like, tears run down their faces. And then I started crying. And we went to give it to Frank, and he was just so happy. And I saw him a couple of days later after that had happened, and he said to me, I ran up to him, and he's like, I've been enjoying the radio so much. Thank you, thank you. And then I lost it again right before my lunch. Because, you know, you just think, like, a $40 or $50 radio, that meant so much to somebody at a given point in their life. And he was somebody I actually felt like I had to seek advice from after Hurricane Katrina, because I was scheduled to get married 3 weeks after that event took place. And the 3 weeks leading up to my wedding, I had been, you know, covering so many various stories and working with all of these people who had survived it, and it was just so hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that I was about to have one of the happiest days of my life, and all of these people had just had, so many horrible things happen to them. And I remember talking to Frank, my new buddy, and he told me it was okay. And I guess that sounds kind of silly, to ask a complete stranger if it's okay to be happy on your wedding day, but for some reason I felt like I had to do that.
Whatever will get you through. What we do here, I'm not sure how much our Mordant was able to explain. We talk about chasing and catching your dreams, which sounds really happy, but we really bring the honesty to it, bring the human connection. We talk about our struggles, our failures, and then our successes. And you sharing that story very much fits into what we do every day, what everybody does every day. It's easy to get motivated by somebody, and I loved your stories, don't get me wrong. Great sharing and that. But it's easy to get motivated by somebody who talks about changing a life with the radio, because those are the good days, right? That's the day like you're doing this and you're making a difference in the world. But when we hit the bad days, it's easy to forget those. So I wanted to say that to set up my next question, because don't think I'm trying to drag you down or put anything down, but we do talk about the struggles and how we overcame them. So I wanted to ask you, have you ever done, in any of your radio gigs or your TV gigs, have you ever done a story that made you sick as a person, that you maybe wanted to quit your job, not because of like the devastation or the heartache, but because you just didn't like how you were pushed in to handle it, or you wanted to take it a more human route, or you just didn't think it was right on a human level? Have you had to deal with that in your business?
Oh, sure. I will say, just going back to the Frank story really quickly, but and then I'll move on to the next one, but because the mayor of the town saw my story, that gentleman, Frank, was actually able to get reunited with some family members down in Florida. So I felt good in that respect that I had been able to help somebody. Situations where I haven't felt so good, going back to your most recent question, funerals. I absolutely hated covering funerals. There was this one week where there had been a horrible fire, and all of these children had perished in the fire along with a couple of adults. And it wasn't just the family, but there had been children sleeping over, so children from another family had perished. And there was this one week where I was assigned to cover a funeral 4 out of 5 days. And on the 5th day, I called my assignment editor and I said, if you make me go and cover another child's funeral, I can't do it. I can't do it. And that was so hard because I had been working with these families, and even though they knew I was there doing my job and I was there to give them closure and try to get the information about where people could send money and funds in those children's names and get that up and broadcast out to the public, it was just so hard. I mean, you feel like a vulture. I mean, I just felt like, why am I here? What is the benefit of me standing here? And people are just giving you the most awful looks, like you're the most horrible person in the world. And those are not good days. And the only thing that keeps you going is the hope that maybe the public will respond and that family will get at least some help with funeral costs from donations from people seeing their story. But
what in that week where you have to cover funerals 4 out of 5 days, what gets you through that?
Just like I said, knowing that possibly you are bringing that family potentially some closure by saying some kind words about their loved one, getting some members of the community to say some kind things about that person, and again, the hope that by putting up the donation number for people to, donate to whatever funds have been set up at the bank, that maybe that will help with some costs of things. When you work in a country like America, not everybody is financially set up to handle the cost of a funeral. And many times on these types of stories, there were cases of families who had absolutely nothing, and not only were they dealing with the heartbreak, but then they had to figure out how they were going to pay for a funeral that they never expected. So at times that could come to be a helpful aid to them, but you hated to see them drained more emotionally than they already were.
Right. It seems like you've been strong throughout your life in the good times and moving forward with all your opportunities that have come your ways. The way some of the doors seems like they were closing, so you found another door open. It seems like you've been strong throughout all of this and then through all these hard things as well. But you had a very defining moment in 2009. Do you want to share that?
I did. I've been working at the Weather Channel for, I guess, 2.5 or 3 years. And what had happened before this was NBC had bought us, and we were acquired from Landmark Communications by NBC. And NBC had done a few things where they changed up quite a few things. And one thing that they wanted to do was to encourage people to do more cross-platform type of work, where you didn't necessarily have to be contained to just one department. If you had other skill sets that could apply to another department, go ahead and do that. So I have been lucky enough to be adopted to do some work in broadband, which is the internet forecast or the virtual forecast that we do on weather.com, or sometimes a lot of people will get us on the smartphone and we're the person that's on your phone telling you what the weather is for a given city or area. So I've been happily going along doing broadband. I came home one night after having dinner with my family and was thinking about what outfit I was going to wear the next day for broadband. I was thinking, am I going to wear the red dress or the blue dress, the red dress or the blue dress? And I pulled up into my driveway, and I went to get out of my car, and there was a gun 3 inches from my head.
And what happened then?
And there was a 20-year-old lanky kid holding a gun to my head saying, give me the car, give me the car, give me the car, over and over and over. And I went into a registry about 2 or 3 octaves above what I even knew that my vocal cords could do, and started saying, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, as over and over and over. So I'm saying, please don't hurt me. He's saying, give me the car. I'm saying, please don't hurt me. He's saying, give me the car. It's a very surreal moment. Everything slows down. You think, is this really happening to me? Oh my gosh. I remember thinking, should I hit the panic button on my car? Should I try to open the garage door? And I remember thinking, don't do that, because if this person is under the influence of alcohol or drugs, they could accidentally fire that gun just from being startled. So I had taken the keys out of the ignition at this point, and I dropped them on the floorboard. And he said, put the key in the ignition and start the car. Well, I remember thinking, don't do that, because he could shove you over to the side and drive off with you. And it's amazing how clear your thoughts are coming in at this. And so I just said, I'm sorry, I can't move. I'm so scared, I can't move, which was kind of a fib. And he said, okay, just get out. And so I literally was clutching my purse in the fashion that comes to mind, like, just clutching the top of my purse with both of my hands. And I remember moving aside, and I remember watching this guy, because he was 6 foot tall, and I'm a shorty, I'm 5'2", and I remember watching him slide into my car, just like with the greatest of ease. And then I remember watching him slide back to adjust the seat for his very long legs. And then he turned the car on, backed out of the driveway, and I watched him drive out of the subdivision with the lights off. And I remember just before he closed the door, I remember thinking, should I ask him to get my mail? Because I had my mail on the front seat. And I remember thinking, no, dummy, run. And I ran up to the front door of my home and started ringing the doorbell like a maniac, basically praying that my husband wasn't in, a stupor on the couch. He tends to fall asleep on the couch, and sometimes if he's watching TV, and thankfully he answered the door, and by that point I was already on the phone with 911, and the police officers got to the scene pretty quick and actually saw the perpetrator hop the fence over into this gated community of apartments. And so he had just taken my car for about a half a mile and then ditched it. Didn't take anything out of it, just ditched it. No scratches of any kind on the car. So I was able to get my vehicle back, never retrieved the keys, but the police concluded that most likely that it was the gang initiation ritual, where this person just had to prove that they could do something like this to become part of this brotherhood. I am so lucky. I mean, in so many ways. I could have lost my life that night. It could have gone 80 different ways, and it went the best way that possibly could. He was never caught, and I feel bad for that person, because whatever life they're leading, if that's what you have to do to become part of a brotherhood, that's just not a good thing.
So how did that moment define you?
It makes me grateful for moments that I have in life. I used to be, I would say, a little bit more uptight of a person. There would be things that would sort of bother me a little bit more, and I'm just able to let stuff like that go now, for sure. It's taken a long time. I mean, I couldn't walk out to my mailbox in broad daylight for 3 months. I had to go and get help. I had to go and get therapy. And I remember that a week after that incident happened, I got a phone call, and it was from my manager, and he said, they want you to start training for the network to be on TV. And I just burst into tears, because I was so upset that I couldn't walk out to my mailbox in broad daylight that it didn't even register with me what he was saying. And just to know that I had to focus on the bigger picture and to really force myself to get over that and not get swallowed up by that. It was a hard thing. It was a hard thing. But I knew I had to do it. And it's definitely, I would say, that focus and determination has led me to where I am today.
That's awesome. That you can, I'm not one of those people that believes that everything happens for a reason, but I believe that everything can happen for a reason. I think you've turned a lot of your life, whatever life has handed you, and used that for that. You gave me, in your bullet points, you gave me 2 quotes, and what's amazing is that they fit both aspects of everything you've shared tonight. And one of them is a quote from John Wayne: "Courage is being scared to death but saddling up anyways." And I think that describes a lot of what you've done and what you've been through. And the other one you gave was by Martin Luther King Jr. "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." And it sounds like those quotes define your life. Or
they do. They do. I can't tell you how scared I was to come back to work after the carjacking, I went in to do a session, and I was having horrible flashbacks to, you know, the incident. And but I went back to work. I did take the day, like literally the day after the incident, I was off because we needed to get some stuff taken care of, like get the car locks redone and get, you know, the house locks redone and all that type of stuff. But then I went back the following day, and it was hard. I mean, I was forgetting stuff. I was having horrible flashbacks. But I trudged on through it and, you know, managed to do the next day and the next day and the next day. And then, of course, the Martin Luther King quote, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. That's just about believing in yourself and knowing that if you believe that, you know, you have this path that's going to lead you to something greater than where you are now, and if you believe in that, just take that first step. Take the first step, and the stairs will start to appear. And I've had stairs appearing ever since I embraced that, and I really hope that I'm in for an even longer climb, because I still have goals and aspirations that I hope I'll achieve by the end of my life.
Well, thank you, Danielle. This has been I wish we had more time.
I know, right?
And we don't. Everything is winding down. I'm watching the clock tick away, and I'm like, oh, there's so much more that we hit on. So much more that you do as well that I wanted to bring up. Even, you know, you make your own jewelry.
I do. That's my hobby. It's my passion. As
well, but unfortunately we don't have the time to talk about it.
But we could have you on another time.
We could definitely have you on another time if you'd be willing to come back. But right now...
I would be willing to.
Excellent. Thank you. Can you pimp yourself out? Where can we find you? Where would you like people to find you?
Sure. I have a Facebook page. It's, if you type into the search Danielle Banks, and it'll say public personality, and you click on that, and you can like me on Facebook. You can interact. I really do interact with just about everybody who posts. It may take me a couple of days to get back to you, but I really do try to answer questions that people ask. And then I'm also on Twitter. It's TWC D Banks on Twitter. So feel free to hit me up. It would be a pleasure to you know, give advice to listeners just about, you know, just keep going and be true to yourself. And I appreciate you guys having me on. I really do.
Cool. I'd like to reach out and invite you to come out to the Georgia Renafest again. Renafest. Sorry. Georgia Renfest. As you obviously are a fan of the Renfest. We have a Bear Calling No Agenda radio meetup on May the 26th. I would be happy to make you and your husband our guests for that, and you can come and enjoy it again, and just let some of the listeners meet you if you'd like. You don't have to. Sure. We're just extending the invitation. I'm sure our Mordant Mon has your information, and we can get together on that.
I know people. We can get you tickets.
Yeah, well, we'd like to make you our guest, and it's been great having you on tonight, and you know, thank you for sharing your life and your stories.
Oh, it is my absolute pleasure. It's kind of interesting because I'm so used to people telling me about their lives, and it's actually kind of different for me to talk about my life. This is actually the first time I've ever done that in an in-depth sort of way. So thank you guys for bearing with me. I really didn't think I would get so emotional recapping on some things from my past, so I appreciate your patience with that.
Well,
some things are hard to put into words, even for a person who speaks for a living.
You were a great guest because, and you may not have noticed because you don't really know us that well, but we were quiet for us. Yeah, because you had us riveted here. So, again, thank you so much.
And when we get bigger than Barbara Walters, we're going to say she started it off.
That's right.
You want to share it.
All right, well, I'm going to let you two wrap it up, and I'm going to get back to finishing up these Keith Crunch Bar cupcakes I'm bringing into my office mates tomorrow.
Oh, jealous.
I'm the sugar fairy at work.
All right, well, thank you again, Danielle, for being on.
Thank you, guys. Have a great time.
So that was the first part of our evening, and how much time do we have even?
We've got like 3 minutes. And it's great. It was great. We have a phone call to play, but the phone call is roughly 3 minutes.
You know, we're gonna do everything. We had more to the show, and we're gonna just put it off till next week.
Yeah, well, we'll just pick back up next week.
I
mean, I guess we could do a podcast, just you and I, but the live show ends in like 2.5 minutes.
Nah, we'll do it next week. We'll do everything next week. I don't want to dampen. This has been a great show as is, and let's leave it at that. So, those of you who are listening to us on the podcast, we are live every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find us at mordantworld.com/NAS if you want to listen to us live. And those of you listening to us live, if you want to catch earlier shows or anything like that, you can go to theothersideoflive.com, or you can find us on iTunes.
There you go. I'm on Thursday nights. Please come back out and listen. I could use some live love. Thursday nights, 9:30 p.m. Eastern on noagendachat.net. Or you can go to mordantworld.com/NAS. It's the same thing, man. You catch me getting there. And every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, I get you going at work. It's a fun morning time talk show, coffee and chaos.
Coffee and chaos.
Chaos and coffee.
In the morning.
It's not your mama's morning show.
And if you want to see what our lives look like, we're goofing around on Instagram, the Instagram app. For those of you who have Android phones and iPhones, Charles is bear crawling, and I am Mordant World.
So and we'll get, of course, the Facebooks and whatnot. Oh, if you would like to do an email specifically for tonight, you can email the weather chick at theothersideoflive.com. That cool weather girl that you talk to at theothersideoflive.com. You get where I'm going with this? You can put anything you want.
You guys ramble too much at theothersideoflive.com.
And you can do like Lee Brown of Dirty Boxers. He called in a voicemail on SpeakPipe, and I hope he understands. Obviously, we didn't knock him. We weren't able to work him in and give him the attention he deserves.
The initial guest was too long, so we had to bump him.
Yeah, sorry, buddy.
He'll be on next week.
We're definitely going to play this SpeakPipe, and we're going to talk about it. I think it's important, and I'm honored that he would ask us some opinions, and we are going to talk about it. And also, in the future, I want to talk about depression and exhaustion and how to know the difference in chasing your dreams.
All right, we'll put that on the docket, but we got something else to...
I'm not saying next week. I'm just saying sometime. Sometime.
Maybe not today, but someday.
And maybe a new segment I want to talk to you about, but that's neither here nor there. You can get us ready to go
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to The Other Side of Live. This is R. Mordant Mon.
And the very moved bear.
Ciao, dream catchers.
So raise your boom, baby. So raise your glasses.